Mickey 17 is a sci-fi comedy where we follow Mickey Barnes. He joins a space crew as an expendable, allowing the administration to assign him various tasks that would inevitably result in his death. These tasks are in pursuit of arming mankind with knowledge that will allow them to colonize a new planet at the expense of Mickey being treated like little more than cannon fodder. So this movie is very much a dark comedy. It's very playful, with characters being very nonchalant about death. People are always dismissing Mickey's deaths as if they're no big deal and they're just going about their workdays as normal. Mickey often gets asked what it's like to die, and his response to that question is something that looms throughout the movie. Everyone's behavior in this movie is very semi-realistic and quirky. Nobody takes their jobs very seriously, as if they're all just a bunch of teenagers at heart. That plays into the world building very well. The bizarre nature of the characters, laws, customs, social norms, and technology was absolutely the standout of the movie. We'll get glimpses of things like food being dispensed from a gun with a long barrel, and a dude wearing a pigeon suit for seemingly no reason at all, and outrageous levels of prohibition compared to our standards. The movie will even give us flashbacks of these absurd situations that explain why these ridiculous laws exist, making for a really immersive experience. A lot of it is tastefully bizarre. It almost feels like a Yorgos Lanthimos movie, or like Netflix's End of the World with its nihilistic humor and quirky supporting characters. It sometimes stoops to levels that are a little bit jarring. For example, there's this long dinner scene that was pretty funny for the most part, but it does get a little bit over the top with the yelling and the discourse. It was a little bit exhausting, but it was pretty fun and silly, and that's honestly the best way that I can describe this movie overall. The production design was very good. The movie has a reported budget of $118 million, and you really see that in how well designed everything is, especially the aliens. They looked great. The cast was fantastic. I would not change a single casting choice. Robert Pattinson continues to show us what incredible range he has, not just comparing this to other roles of his, but also recognizing that he plays multiple characters in this movie. One of the big points of conflict in this movie is there being multiple Mickeys, 17 and 18, and they surprisingly have very different personalities. At first, this seemed strange that they were very different despite being the same person, but I kind of liked the insinuation that each Mickey is being printed out with just slightly different brain chemistry. For me, easily the most memorable character was Kenneth Marshall, played by Mark Ruffalo. He's a politician leading the space mission. He's very animated, almost like Dr. Evil meets a US politician. The movie does have some pretty on-the-nose political satire that might be tiring to some American viewers, really honestly no matter where you stand on the political spectrum. We just get very similar commentary in other works often enough that it's hard not to find it kind of played out, if not pretty exhausting. So even acknowledging the things that I loved about this movie, I gotta say that I actually thought it was pretty tiring, specifically because of how aimless it sometimes feels. Sorry, editor Josh here. I was thinking about this while editing the video. Aimless isn't the right word. Really, the better way to make that point that I'm trying to make is that the plot plays second fiddle to the absurdities, the comedy, and the world building. So that seems to be what the movie cares more about delivering, which might be fine for some viewers. But for those of us who want to immerse ourselves in the plot, you just might find that a little underwhelming. Continuing. The plot meanders quite a bit, in addition to the fact that it kind of takes a while to figure out what direction it's going in the first place. To paint a picture of how much the movie doesn't mind taking its time, the prologue of this movie was about 35 minutes. So beyond that late title card, we jump into the goods and we have the multiples dilemma. We have two Mickeys, and for legal reasons, this is a huge problem. The plot meanders back and forth between the conflicts involving the two Mickeys, both between them and their unique conflicts with other characters, and digging further into the logistics of Kenneth Marshall's plan and the nature of the aliens that inhabit the planet that they're colonizing, and then all the subplots with the supporting characters. There are fragments of the story that focus on Mickey and his friend Timo's backstory and those loose ends. Some of the bizarre characters, like Toni Collette's character, who's this rich power taster, end up getting more attention than what really felt necessary in the end. And then there's this unexpected romance slash not really a romance that lives and dies so quickly that it begged the question, does that even need to be in the movie? All of these fragments make the world feel really immersive. Some of them really add to that bizarre world building, but I can't deny that overall it just made the movie feel really scattered. It was almost like Beetlejuice. I liked each of those ideas, and I can totally see a lot of viewers being really into that and thinking, wow, this movie is really jam-packed. It just does so much. For me, I just wanted to actually become invested in any of these ideas but I just kind of had a hard time doing that. The bizarre nature of the movie is what really keeps it interesting, but when that stagnates and a new conflict is taking over the narrative every 10 minutes, it's hard to become invested in any of them. Again, this movie is really funny at times. That said, I did see this in a Cine XL theater that was probably like about 60 or 70% full, and in between those laughs, there were some mentionably long periods in between them that were pretty quiet. Part of that could be just because the movie is surprisingly pretty quiet. The score is really somber, and then there are long periods where there's actually no music playing. Sometimes that made perfect sense, and it was contributing to the type of comedy that the movie was trying to go for. Then there were other times where it kind of just felt like it was evoking the wrong vibe. This movie was made by Bong Joon-ho, who also made Parasite. This movie was very different. Sure, this one also deals with class discrimination and some absurd ideas, but they're on completely different levels. This movie is very admirable. I like that a movie this outrageous was brought to life on this scale. I want more movies like this. The more outlandish films nowadays don't get nearly as high of a budget or stacked a cast. I want studios to pump out more absurd movies like this with high budgets. So a little bit of a mixed bag for me, but I would put this movie at the top end of it's fine. I loved some things about this movie, but the things that I wasn't crazy about kind of really bogged it down for me. So much so that I'm not really itching for a second screening anytime soon. So if you're a fan of dark comedies or absurd comedies, like if you love Yorgos Lanthimos movies, then this could be a great watch. But if you're looking for something a little bit more high energy, or if you want something with a very focused plot line, this might not be the movie that you're looking for. Thanks for watching this review. If it brought you any value at all, please give it a like. It really does help the channel grow. I'll see you next week with my review of Black Bag.